Hello everyone, welcome to Aptera Owners Club. In this video, I wanted to talk about the Daymak Spiritus. This was just, they had a release video, announcement video, because they finished their prototype a few days ago. And it's an interesting looking car. It's really kind of a cool looking car. And this is a view of it from the rear. It's a reverse trike or tadpole design, three-wheel electric vehicle, much like the Aptera. It has a solar panel on the top, much like the Aptera. And it's priced at $22,000, which is a pretty good price. And if you look at this, it looks very similar. Here's kind of a 360 view of it. So it has a really kind of an aggressive. I kind of like the styling, a little kind of hyper aggressive, but you know, everyone has different tastes. These things in the back they look like exhaust pipes, but I'm not real sure what the purpose of them is for other than cosmetics, because I don't think it really does anything. But it's a three-wheel design. If you look at this, it looks a lot like essentially a enclosed Polaris slingshot. So you might have seen these on the road. These are gas-powered three-wheeled motorcycles from Polaris. They're evidently a lot of fun to drive, very low to the ground, and they perform very well. Or there's another machine called the Campania Motors T-Rex, and this is also very similar. This one weighs a little over 1,000 pounds, but looks very similar to the Daymak Spiritus. And so let's look at, so here's the price. It's $22,995, so $23,000. So it's not that, I think from a purely price standpoint, between this and the lowest end Aptera, which is $25,900, so about $3,000 more. You get a lot more with the Aptera than the Daymak Spiritus. Let's look at the specs of this thing. Okay, so here's the specs. So $23,000 versus $26,000 essentially for the low end Aptera. There is this Ultimate Edition, which is $150,000. I have no idea who would want to pay $150,000 for this, but hey, it's your money. The width is much narrower than the Aptera, which would be a great asset for urban driving, because there is, Aptera's a little wide for urban driving. In terms of performance, 0 to 60 is 6.9 seconds. It's got 85 mile per hour top speed, so that is highway capable. And it has a range of 180 miles with a 36 kilowatt hour battery pack. So the efficiency is about half of the Aptera. So this one looks like it's using about 200 watt hours per mile versus 100 watt hours per mile, because with an Aptera with a 36 kilowatt pack, you would expect that to go, the 25 kilowatt pack goes 250 miles, so about 100 miles per kilowatt hour. This one goes 50 miles per kilowatt hour, so 180 miles. So the efficiency is about half the Aptera. It's very light. And very low to the ground, so I would expect that it handles quite well. And it looks like it'd be a fun little commuter car. What you will notice that it's a two-seater, side-by-side two-seater, but there is no storage space whatsoever. If you look at this mock-up of the chassis of the thing, here's the seat, and this is the back. There's no trunk space whatsoever in this vehicle. It's very simple swing arm rear suspension on this thing. So yeah, you wouldn't be able to carry anything. So for me, I really wanted a vehicle to carry at least a bicycle around and to do road trips in. This is not that vehicle. This is a vehicle for commuting. And probably its best competition is the Electromechanica Solo. And me personally, between the two vehicles, if this were available and if they do deliver on their specs, this is a much better vehicle than the Electromechanica Solo. It has more range. It can carry two people. So if you had to carry one person, you could carry some stuff in the other seat. So it's just a more versatile vehicle and performs better and is priced competitively with that. Now let's look at some other details. Here is from their unveiling event, which was on December 20th. I want to make this full screen so we can look at this a little better. I don't know if you can see this, but it says Alafe Propulsion Systems. So it looks like they're using Alafe hub motors. And then if you look at it a little more carefully, they show you the battery pack right here. So this is it looks like the engineering is not as involved in this, very simple swing arm rear suspension, and they just bought a huge battery pack and stuck it in the front of this thing, and that's how they done it. If you were making your own battery pack, ideally you want to put the battery pack low in the vehicle to improve the handling and the lower center of gravity. Now this thing is very low to begin with. There is a part where this gentleman is getting into the vehicle. You can see him getting into the vehicle, and you can see how low it is. Yeah, so you see how low it is. The seat is probably a foot off the ground, actually. So it's a very low vehicle. So I don't think that they care too much about the center of gravity. But essentially what you see is they got a big battery and just stuck it in the front, which makes things a little easier to manufacture. Let's see here. The other thing that I wanted to look at was a little bit about the company. So the company's been around for a long time. They started as an importer, and they basically sell like e-bikes and scooters and things like that. And basically most of their stuff is very simple e-bikes, and they have these scooters which look sort of impressive. Like this thing looks like it might actually be a real motorcycle, but if you look at the specs of the thing, the top speed is 32 kilometers per hour. So I can go faster than that on my road bike. So these are not high performance vehicles, and they sell like scooters. So that's what they're currently doing. But they are trying to move into this, move into some higher end vehicles, and it's very aspirational. Look at this thing. They are supposedly making a drone, a personal drone that flies. So you can pre-order this. Seems very optimistic, and they're selling all these. This actually is a pretty interesting vehicle to me. This is essentially a velocycle, an enclosed velocycle. So it's you can pedal it, and it has electric assist. There was one commenter in one of my videos thinking about putting a pedal inside an Aptera. That's very impractical for the size of the vehicle that the Aptera is. Human power, humans can generate maybe 50 to 100 watts for any prolonged period of time without getting extremely sweaty. And so that's going to add negligible power. But an enclosed velocycle like this would be interesting for people who want a velocycle. So that's kind of interesting. So they're planning on making all of these vehicles. None of these vehicles have been made. The Spiritus is the one we're talking about, and they even have this thing that's supposed to be a flying vehicle. So we'll see if they actually deliver that. Seems very optimistic to do that. I think that they have a decent shot at delivering this vehicle. And the thing about it is they do have a solar panel on the top. And let's see if I can find the picture of it. I think it was in here someplace. Oh yeah, here it is. So here's a solar panel on top of this thing, and they told Clean Technica a while ago that they were hoping to get about 15 kilometers of range per day out of that. So that's not a lot, 15 kilometers a day. It's like about 9 miles a day. It's not nothing, but I wouldn't call it a solar electric vehicle if it gives you 9 miles of range per day at optimum. And these are some older pictures. You see, initially they did not have hub motors. You don't see a hub motor here, but they are using, looks like they're using Olafe hub motors according to their release vehicle. But anyway, a very interesting vehicle. I think it would be great for people that don't need to carry anything. They just want a fun commuter that is kind of zippy and handles really well. And between it and the Electromechanica, I would definitely go with this over that. I think it looks better and can carry two people, so it's more practical, and you just get more for your money with this vehicle. So I hope they succeed. Their timeline is pretty aggressive. I think they have a timeline down here at the very end of this thing. Yeah, so here's their timeline. So they made their first prototype early this year, and next year they're going to make a second prototype. So I don't know why it would take them a whole year to make another prototype. And then they're going to do final testing 6 to 7 months later, then mold development and deliver. This seems very aggressive. I don't know why it takes a year to do this, but they think they're going to go to production and deliver vehicles in less than a year after the second prototype. I don't know. It does look like a fairly simple vehicle. Their design is very simple. And so I think it's much easier to produce. Their technology is not, they're not having to develop all this new technology like Aptera is doing. So things may be much easier for them. They have some real gimmicky features like mining cryptocurrency. I think that's just a total gimmick. But an interesting vehicle nonetheless. So it is from a manufacturer that has a history of delivering products. They have never delivered a high performance product like this before, but they do have some. They obviously have some supply chain and suppliers and some relationships with manufacturers that they've been doing this for decades now. So they have definitely delivered vehicles like e-bikes and scooters and mobility things. So I think that they will deliver this thing, and it looks cool, and I think it'd be really fun to ride. Of course, I'm biased, and I think the Aptera is a much better vehicle for the price. It's just a little bit more, gives you a lot more range. You can actually carry cargo with it. It's much more efficient. The only downside I can see of the Aptera is it is more complicated vehicle, so would be a little bit more difficult to repair, and also it is much wider. So for urban settings, it's a little bit harder to maneuver around because of its width. But yeah, very interesting vehicle. Encourage you guys to check it out. Tell me what your thoughts on it are, and thanks for watching.